Comedian Chris Rock, after 12 months of relative silence, decided to come out the gate swinging, pun intended, with a new Netflix comedy special. In Rock's performance, he took the time to set the record straight on Slackgate and to demonstrate to America two things: parents still matter, and abortion is indeed murder. Rock used comedy to air out some dirty laundry and to say many quiet parts out loud. But it's amazing to me how the Lord will use even unregenerate men to affirm what scripture already declares: that the heart of mankind is deceitful and desperately wicked. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. And that those who do not see fit to acknowledge God are given up to a debased mind to do what not ought to be done. Chris spoke about abortion in true unregenerate fashion while simultaneously holding up a mirror to many faces, exposing the wicked and callous nature of murdering our most vulnerable image bearers in the womb. While Rock talked about murdering babies, I noticed that the audience began to simmer down a little bit. But I also could not help but to recall Romans 1, where it talks about mankind being foolish, faithless, heartless, and ruthless. Mankind is truly hopeless and lost apart from a salvific relationship through the person and work of Jesus. Here in America, it is so bad that even prominent Black pastors like the real William Murphy will double down in his support of baby murder and tweet the false and unbiblical idea that Jesus never judged anyone he intended to save. So, for this reason, we must allow Americans to murder babies because Jesus didn't believe in criminalizing people for their free will. Murphy, who I affectionately refer to as controlled opposition, is not only an enemy to the Black American community, but he's more importantly an enemy of the cross. He stands in the way of the truth, and what he does is he leads other people astray by cleverly deceiving them into believing that the Holy Spirit wouldn't lead us to protect babies in the womb. Now, he's already demonstrated his love affair with the Democratic Party, and now he must go on record to seal the deal by being Margaret Sanger's modern day tool of wickedness. Murphy and other pastors like him are part of the aristocracy. See, they demonstrate selective outrage on topics that aren't really an existential threat and on matters that should demand biblical fidelity. They control the narrative by opposing the truth with lies. So here's the deal. We see you, William Murphy, but perhaps you should consult with Chris Rock so that he can remind you that abortion is murder, because clearly the Bible isn't clear enough for you. So go ahead, grab your favorite beverage, and we're going to talk about all of this and more right here on the Standard of Truth podcast. So, you guys, if you haven't been following the news cycle, or not that you keep your ear tuned to what's going on in Hollywood or entertainment, but it's kind of hard to ignore because if you're on social media in any capacity, you've heard about Slackgate from last year when comedian Chris Rock was unfortunately slapped live on the air during the Oscars by actor Will Smith. I actually did a video last year when that happened. I don't even remember what I said in that video, but I know I did a video on it. So if you want interested to hear the commentary on that, you're free to do that. But this year, actually, it'll be a 1 year anniversary. I think the Oscars that I don't watch, I think they come on Sunday, this Sunday coming up. And they've actually put like special security and controls in place if in the event someone becomes unhinged and decides to enact violence on the stage. They actually have a precedent going forward to do that. But the reason why, as a Christian, I want to talk about Chris Rock's most recent Netflix special called Selective Outrage is because I always think that it's important for believers to be able to examine what's going on in the culture. And then there are always hidden nuggets of truth. Because this is how, when I'm training my children in righteousness, Um, when I'm training my children in righteousness, oftentimes I will point to things that have happened in the culture and use it as a teaching lesson to point one back to the gospel, to point to the depravity of man, the glory of God, why we need a savior. Like, I just think parents should always use every opportunity to infuse the gospel so that your children, as they're growing, can see with clarity when things happen in the world. They will know how to parse through these issues, and they have real life practical examples, to be able to point to scripture to say, oh, that's right, when mommy was telling me this, that's what we see in Romans 1. Or when, mommy is talking about the heart, that's what we see here in this scripture. So tonight, no need to summarize what happened. Y'all know what happened, right? Y'all, Chris Rock, unfortunately was subjected to some beta male violence on the Oscars. And I'm actually glad that Chris Rock has been silent this entire time. Because one, it gave the world an opportunity to kind of like simmer down and really not focus on it too much. I knew he would eventually say something, but I'm glad that he didn't go on, the media interview circuit. I don't want to give away the comedy special, right? 'Cause I have seen it. I watched it for research purposes because I knew that I was gonna do this story. And let's just be honest, like, I'm not gonna sit here and try to front like I'm, just this super spiritual person that I can't. I watched it because I wanted to see. I wanted to see and hear what he was going to say in response to being slapped on the Oscars. Like, I wanted to know, okay, what is he going to say? How is he going to, share his thoughts? I was just interested. I was here for it. So, yes, I watched it. My husband and I watched it the other night. And it's not that I'm not a Chris Rock fan. I comedy is, it doesn't take much to make me laugh, right? But as I get older, some of the language, I just like, God, can they just find some new words to use? Like, sometimes the language is a bit much, but I was just interested in hearing what he was going to say. And so I documented some key takeaways from Rock's performance that most people may have overlooked. And then as a Bible believing Christian, you may have just been like, you know what? I didn't even look at it that way, or I didn't even consider the implications of what he said. And I'm going to try to do this without giving it away, because he did, in my opinion, he did a phenomenal job of using comedy to just shed some light on just how wicked and depraved this world is. And I noticed that he didn't immediately come out the gate. He kind of kept you on the edge of your seat, right? He didn't come out the gate and respond to the Will Smith controversy. He would leave little nuggets and tidbits that that's where he was going. But at first, he didn't do that. The first thing I noticed was that, and other people, without the spoiler alert, other people have done content on this, so y'all just got to be all right. Chris Rock pointed out the fact that one reason why, one, he didn't hit Will back, and he didn't go on Oprah or Gail, or he didn't sit down for any exclusive interviews because he was like, listen, I'm not a victim. Like, you're not going to see me out here doing that. And I thought that was amazing because everybody seems to want to be the first runner up or first place of the Victim Olympics these days. And so to see a Hollywood actor not play the victim card, was refreshing for me. Another thing that I noticed that he said that I was like, you know what? I see it. He mentioned that one reason why he didn't retaliate back was that because he had parents. And he said parents, plural, like with an S. And for me, I'm always looking for the undercover, like the little sly shade, sly remarks. And the way I interpreted that was him saying, listen, I'm a grown man and this thing happened to me, and I'm not going to give y'all effeminate, beta male energy like Will Smith. I'm going to stand here like the man that I am because, one, I have not only an ethnic image to maintain, but I have parents. I have a family name to honor and to respect. And I'm not going to stoop low and hit this man back. One, because he probably could beat me. But the fact that I know he can beat me, I'm still not going to just show all the way out on television. I'm going to eat that. I'm just going to eat it like I eat those slaps for breakfast. And it made me think about, you know how you guys, I'm always talking about the family structure and how strong communities are made up of healthy families, and healthy families create strong communities, and strong communities create healthy societies. When Chris Rock said that he had parents and that he was raised right, it points to the bigger issue of the fact, and this is no shade to Will, but if you know his background, Will was raised by a single mom. I don't know the extent to what his dad was in his life, but one could interpret that as like, listen, I know better and I'm not going to shame and embarrass my family and ruin my career and just ruin everything that I've worked for because I can't regulate my emotions because one, having a mom and a dad, a nuclear family taught me that. Now, he may not have meant it that way, but that's the takeaway that I'm taking away. Y'all just like it because my husband and I talk about this a lot. I was raised by my mom, and for the Robert's parents are in their life, but for the most part, he was raised with his mom. But we both talk about deficiencies that children have. And then when those children grow up into adulthood, when it's an imbalance of just one parent or the other. God designed for children to be born in the confines of marriage because it's obvious that God knows best, but there are different things that children need and that they get from the mama and the daddy. And when Chris Rock said that he had parents, I was like, ooh. That's deep. Like, I don't think he meant that to be funny. But for me, it was very deep because I was like, I see what you did there, Chris. I was like, I see that and I hear it because I, as the female counterpart to my husband, the mama with my kids, there are times when I am just very emotional and I can go off on the deep end. And my husband's just sitting there like he's very calm, he's very cool, and he's collected. And he's teaching my boys that just because you feel, you don't react. You need to think about the consequences of your actions. You need to be self aware. And my husband's always telling them that you need to learn the basics, right? And he does the same with my girls. And so when Chris Rock said that, he had parents, I took that as he threw a little shade, but he drew a bigger point that most people missed is that having a family name and your actions and the implications of your actions, it is a reflection of your family. Now, I know sometimes your kids do stuff and you be like, I don't know who raised you because I didn't raise you like that, right? But I can imagine Chris Rock standing there in that moment when all eyes are on him and this man gets up out his sleep, slaps him, uses, profanity. He was the consummate professional. And I don't know if most people would have been able to do that, but the fact that Chris Rock had parents and he probably garnered and gained a traditional nuclear family upbringing is probably one of the tools and resources in his toolbox that he pulled from to sustain himself in that moment. So I wanted to come in for that. One thing you didn't see, Chris Rock emote. He didn't act impulsively, but he constrained his impulse to retaliate on Will. And what he did, he not only did he handle it with dignity and class, but he was patient. Y'all, that man waited a whole year and was like, okay, this happened to me. You may have ruined your career and hit your pockets, Will, by your behavior, but let me show you how a real grown man does it. And I'm going to laugh with you all the way to the bank. I don't know how much that Netflix special has grossed, but I can imagine Chris Rock is like, you're not going to exploit my pain. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about this situation on my terms when I want to, and you going to pay to hear it. The capitalist in me was like, keep the party going, Chris Rock. Keep the party going. Right. So somebody was saying Chris Rock was trying to say that he was raised right and taught how to behave by his parents. Exactly. That was my takeaway. And there's no way that we can deny that there was a significant difference in how the fact that the moment Jada gave him that look, it was almost like there was a battery pack in Will Smith's back. And he was like, okay, well, I know what that means. I need to go and I'm going to act a fool. Chris Rock's family name was more important in that situation than the immediate retaliation. I think that's a good takeaway. That honor, dignity, and respect and public shame, those things still matter. Now, I don't know if it's generational. Chris Rock is 58 years old. He's in my generation. I'm a Generation Xer. And there's just something about Generation Xers, for the most part, we're struggling in a lot of areas, but I think we were like the last generation to where respect for how you went out and handled yourself in public. Like, y'all know the speech now, whether you are white, black, if your mama gave you the speech, like, now when we go in here, don't you ask for nothing. You show out if you want to. Like, y'all know the speech, because my mama used to give me that speech all the time. Every time we would go to the bus stop in the South Bronx, there was this newspaper stand and they had candy and goodies, and she would always have to give me speech. We didn't come here at the bus stop so that you can get snacks. Don't ask me for nothing. Don't whine. Don't, like, basically, like, you got the speech. And those things just kind of carried with me for the rest of my life. And I actually do the same thing to my kids. As soon as if we're going somewhere, we have to have, especially when they were younger, the speech. Like, they know it verbatim. So, here's another takeaway from the Slackgate rebuttal from Chris Rock. Marrying the wrong woman will ruin your life. I can't stress that one enough, because we saw in real time how the gynocracy moves and functions in this postmodern America. And what I mean about the gynocracy, I'm talking about the women rule the world and girl power and black girl magic. Yeah, we saw that black girl magic. That black girl magic has caused Will Smith his reputation, a level of professional respect amongst his peers and colleagues that I don't know if he'll ever be able to get back. And now we got him out here as a runner-up in the Victim Olympics, crying victim in a most recent film that he played in, Emancipation. He's just like, white people spit on me. Like, listen, I'm a strong believer that who you marry does matter. But when a man makes a poor choice in choosing a spouse, it is going to infect and impact every aspect of his life. And it's going to either impact it for good or for evil. And this was a prime example of what happens when you try to turn a hood rat into a housewife. Apart from the regenerating work of the spirit, hood rats don't make good wives. I'm just saying. I know y'all like, y'all, why y'all calling Jada hood rat? Listen, I can say that because I'm from the Bronx, right? I'm from the Bronx, Jada from Baltimore. Like, I know hood when I see it because I'm from the hood. Hood chicks, you can reform. You can. But it's something about behavior modification apart from the work of the spirit. It's temporary. Meaning, when I was growing up, retaliating with physical violence, that was like normal because it was a defense mechanism. It's just like, okay, somebody on a block, is bullying you. Well, you can't let them bully you. You have to fight back. Because if you don't fight back, when you get home, you're going to get in trouble for not fighting back. So street violence it is a part of urban culture. And I'm not saying that people don't change. I'm a Christian. Of course I believe people can change. I just believe that take somebody like, okay, I'm gonna give y'all a good example. Y'all know Eve the rapper? Eve the rapper, the little rough rider with the little what you call them, the little paws tattoo. Yes. Eve grew up in Philly, and I would consider her a reformed hood rat in the sense that when you see her now, she is very poised. She is very ladylike. She has embraced femininity. She has shed the vestiges of that hood life and embraced an alternate life. That's behavior modification. But for the believer, we're not just modifying our behavior in and of ourselves. Something supernaturally happens to us to where we get new hearts, right? We actually are changed from the inside out. So you can dress one of us up and put nice classy clothes and put some Louboutins on us and get our hair and our makeup done, but if you still have that wicked stony heart, you just put lipstick on a pig. And so the takeaway that one takeaway that I noticed in the Chris Rock Selective Outrage special was that Will's life has been effectively ruined. He's been embarrassed, and now he's the brunt of more jokes because he is married to someone who does not respect him. And she is like what Proverbs says, you know, when you bring shame and disgrace to your husband, you're like rottenness in his bones, right? Marrying the wrong woman will lead you to poverty and misery if you do not have the same value system that they have, right? Now, I'm about to make some category distinctions. Will Smith from Philly grew up in the hood too, single mama, right? But do y'all remember when Will first came out? He was like the squeaky clean rapper, right? Like he wasn't associated with that life, that thug life. He was just the party rap. Like we loved Will Smith. And even after he graduated from the rap game and into acting, he was our sanitized all-American just we were like Will Smith, that's our guy, right? The category distinction I want to make is because he amassed an incredible amount of wealth, public and private respect of his peers. Like no one's going to deny that Will Smith was not just our Independence Day American, just all around sweetheart guy. And yes, he was married to Jada, but the issues that they had, for the most part, he was able to kind of keep them under control, knowing that they lived a relatively private life. But when you marry the wrong woman, and when I say they lead you into poverty and misery, all you gotta do is look at their children. You look at the children and how they were raised. If you don't marry the right person, and I'm not saying that there's one perfect person for everybody. What I'm saying is if your value system does not match, they are going to import their value system into your children. Y'all can't tell me the value system that we see in Will and Jada's children, that is not the value system that Will was raised with. It's just not. But it's the value system that Jada was raised with, right? Y'all have heard, maybe you haven't heard some of the Red Table Talks where she talks about what her grandmom and them did to her to help her get in touch with the side of her that should not have been awakened before time. I'll just clean it up and say it like that. But now we see when you marry someone with the wrong value system or the value system that's not aligned with yours, it leads you down a path of poverty and misery. And now he is now eating the fruit of that. She's ruined their kids, right? And she's ruined him. And we don't know how you sanitize that from here on out, right? Will's career is suffering. Like, he's still getting parts, but like, I don't think he was on top. And the moment she started doing things like demanding people, boycott the Oscars because her man, like, the moment her gynocratic ways started spilling out and infecting his career is when he should have put his foot down as the man and like, we're not doing this. We done been in the game this long and I done kept you quiet and you need to be seen and not heard. Like, I know it's not that I'm trying to talk to her like she's a child, but we just unfortunately have seen the problematic nature of their relationship, and now we're seeing the downward spiral of it. His reputation is tarnished, and he's now embracing victimhood, and his beta male energy is at an all-time high. We never saw that kind of behavior from Will Smith. Will Smith could navigate in and out of Hollywood spaces with his dignity and respect and tact. He didn't have to act like someone else. He could just still be himself. But now he's embracing this alternate reality because he's trying to align and be congruent with her value system now versus it being the other way around. And she's got him sitting at her red table, embarrassed himself because she's literally drained all of the little life that's left. Like, it's just gone. So that's pretty much all I kind of wanted to say about that. But I enjoyed certain aspects of the special, particularly how he handled the Will Smith situation. But I got some criticisms, as you know. This is a twofold. I don't really want to know how to describe this because Chris Rock affirmed what Christians know to be true. Actually, I'm about to talk about the life issue. He affirmed what Christians know to be true, which is that abortion is murder, right? But the left doesn't like truth. And I pointed this out because I believe that nothing happens by just there are no maverick molecules. Just how we can see God through history using wicked pagan kings to accomplish his will. I think in that special, Chris Rock affirming that abortion is murder shed the light on the left. And I don't think they liked it too bad. They're so used to suppressing the truth and unrighteousness and talking it's a clump of cells, it's not a baby. Like, it just miraculously becomes a baby when it just gets through the birth canal. But right before that, it's not a baby. And he kept drilling it into all of our heads. And I didn't find this part funny, but I understood what he was doing. They did not want to constantly be told and reminded that it's a baby and that it was murder, right? But Chris Rock shoved that truth. He shoved it down their throats so much that you could tell that they wanted him to be quiet, right? I think of a situation in the book of Acts when Stephen, right, is preaching to the Jews and they start stopping up their ears and ripping off their clothes because that truth was just too loud and they just wanted him to be quiet. I believe that God uses all things for his glory, and he uses even unregenerate pagans to herald sometimes what is true as a means to either convict or as a means of judgment. I think we saw that in the Chris Rock special. Now, Chris Rock is, he's no prophet or he's no apostle or anything like that. But we see, I don't know if you guys have been, tuning your ear to the streets, but the gynocracy, they're not very happy with Chris Rock right now. They're not happy with him because, well, when I say the gynocracy, let's talk about a subset of the gynocracy, Black women in particular, the ones that share my ethnic image. They're not happy with Chris Rock right now because I don't know why this is a thing, but people need to understand that Chris Rock is a comedian. You don't have to like him. You don't have to agree with him. You don't even have to watch it, right? Like me as a Christian, I purposely subjected myself to his content because I wanted to hear what he had to say, right? And if he chose his special to persecute Christians, right? I'd be like, okay, well, that's just a pagan person doing what pagans do. They hate God. So they're God haters. That's what they do. But for some reason, Black women, they're y'all, we killing comedy. We're killing comedy because I can't tell you how many videos I've seen of Black women saying, Chris Rock is like using every opportunity to make Black women the brunt of his jokes. As if comedians don't laugh at everybody. Like if you have a peg leg and one eye, they are going to clown you too. We're not special. Why do we feel we need to be this protected class that even in comedy, you can't joke about us? I'll tell you why. I'm about to answer my own question. The reason why, even in comedy, you can't joke about us is because we refuse to be held accountable. And even in a comedy special, when everybody's kiki and laughing, we're so emotionally unhinged because we've bought into feminism and postmodernism so much that we can't even laugh at ourselves. We can't laugh at ourselves. So now we have to call for comedians to be canceled if they want to make a joke about alopecia, if they want to make a joke about, us, our hair smelling like motions and pink lotion, like whatever the joke is, no one can tell jokes anymore because for some reason, I guess the memo didn't go out. Black women are a protected class now. And so you can't joke about us. So I'm just like, well, what can we joke about? Because then if it ain't the Black gynocracy that's upset, then you got the alphabet community, then they get upset. And it's like, why don't we comedy is just dead. What's funny anymore if in America we can't laugh at ourselves, or in a comedic special be like, okay, that was funny, but he did make me think like, yeah, that was wrong what I did, or that was wrong what I said. Like, it's a joke. Get a grip on yourself. Like, we're not emotionally well. We're not emotionally well to where the context of the joke. Like, we're at a comedy special, so they're gonna joke and they're gonna make fun of people. If you're that weak of mind that you can't sit through a comedy special when somebody's joning on you or making a joke, like you need to unsubscribe. You just need to tune out, right? And don't even engage in the world, because people are going to make fun of you. Like, that is just life. Like, sinful fallen people joke. Like, it's funny. Just laugh and get over yourself. Like, you not that special. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Black women. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna pull it up. Let me see if I can find it. It is. I want y'all to listen to this real quick. I knew I was gonna talk about this, but I did not prepare the clip. So now I have to find it. Here we go.
But critics also blasted Rock for making Black people the butt of his jokes to appeal to a white audience. And our next guest writes that Rock, quote, deserved to be slapped. So joining us now is the senior writer at The Root, Candace McDuffie. Good morning to you. Why did you think he deserved to be slapped?
It's not so much about being slapped as much as it is about accountability, right? He has made Black women specifically the butt of his jokes for years, and he's finally being held accountable. So I feel like this kind of sets the precedence, going forward, hopefully, that people will be more careful about how they treat and discuss, Black women.
Wow.
Okay, guys. Okay, I'm back. So this is a member of the gynocracy. Y'all, I don't know. I'm really not trying to be funny. I don't know if that is a biological male or biological female. I'm really not sure. I'm not about to speculate. So I will just say this individual represents the typical leftist member of the gynocracy who is unable to emotionally mature to where now her knee-jerk reaction is, oh, Chris Rock deserved to be slapped because he's making fun of Black women. So who can make fun of Black women? Because we already know can't nobody hold you accountable. So now can't nobody make jokes about you either. One, it makes it seem like that Black women we're emotionally unstable, right? And that we simply cannot cope or function under any sort of criticism, even if it's done in a comedic setting. Like, maybe y'all weak like that, but my husband makes fun. Listen, I remember one time, I'm trying to remember this one funny joke. Oh, I remember. We were driving. we were driving. I don't know where we were going, and a yellow school bus drove by, and it was a short one, right? And I think my second son, was maybe 6 at the time, and that was like his first time. He had never seen. He was like, "Ooh, Daddy, look, that's a yellow school bus, but it's a short one." My husband goes, "Yeah." I'm sorry. I'm just stupid. My husband's like, "Yeah, son. Um, that's the bus that your mama used to ride on when she was growing up. But she's much better now." And it was a joke. Like, I didn't take it personal. Like, are you trying to say like I'm retarded or something? Like, it's a joke. Like, can we just laugh? Can things just be funny? Right? I just want us to lighten up, even as believers, right? Like, as long as it's not coarse jesting, but it's just a joke, like, merriment is good for the soul. And so when he told my son that was the bus that I used to ride on when I was growing up in school, um, now he's 6. He doesn't understand the context of that joke, but I understood it. And I just fell out laughing. I was like, "Oh, you got jokes?" I was like, "Okay, I got you." I was like, "You wait." When I was just waiting for a comeback, but that's just life. People are going to laugh. People are going to make jokes. Like, I thought that was funny. Like, that was a funny joke. Like, y'all may not laugh, but in the moment when he told my son that I used to ride the short bus, like, that was funny. So anyway, let's see. At the end of the day, all I wanted to say was, this woman, this member of the gynocracy, doesn't see anything wrong with disrespecting and shaming a man for speaking his mind, and is so infuriated by it that you can't even make jokes anymore. He needs to be canceled. I mean, just wanting to affect somebody's livelihood because you're just emotionally immature and you just can't handle it. Like, to me, that's just messed up. At the end of the day, I'm just convinced that unless you have people in your life who love you, um, to not want to be held accountable is a dangerous place to be in. And I do believe that part of the demise of the Black community comes from the fact that we will not self-reflect. We will not self-examine. You can't say anything, even if it's true. You literally have to suppress truth and lie to us because we just, in mass, in general, we just can't handle it. And that's not good. Like, communities can't flourish and survive that way. It's just unsustainable. Like, get a grip. So, make sure you guys like this video. I appreciate all of the engagement in the comments. Oh, I knew it was something I wanted to do. You guys, I wanted to show you. Let me see if I have a QR code for it. I may or may not. I don't think I do. Oh, hold on. Do I have it? Do I have it? No, I don't have it. Oh, man. Okay. All right. I want to share this with you guys because we're about to take a quick break. But before we do, I had a subscriber ask me my thoughts and opinions on this resource that I'm about to share with you guys. And this is one of the products of the day, the Theology Handbook. I absolutely recommend this. Now, it's a premium product. I mean, this ain't 20, right? It's not 20. This one is $58, but it is worth the investment. I would suggest, if you are a new believer, or even if you are a seasoned believer and you're like, for the most part, I know what it means to be a Christian and I know what it means to be saved, but I need to just tighten up and brush up on basic Christian doctrine. I like this book because it's broken. it's like a little baby systematic theology, like before you get to like Wayne Grudem, right? Because Wayne Grudem, that's a lot, right? That's a lot. That is a reference book. This too is also a reference book, but it's much smaller, right? And it's much more succinct. And so from understanding theology proper to soteriology to Christology, ecclesiology, bibliography, like anthropology, like understanding who we are as men, as humankind. Um, it literally breaks down all major aspects of theology, including pneumatology, which is the study of the Holy Spirit. And so, but it's got beautiful illustrations. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's got beautiful illustrations. And it comes with a nice bookmark, right? It's like a nice gold bookmark. And I like it because it drills down doctrine in a very simplified manner so that you could even use this if you are a homeschooling mom, you could use this as a textbook for your kiddos. So I am urging you guys to go ahead and get yourself a copy of the Theology Handbook.